All right, third grade scholars, we are now ready for the uppercase C and O. When you're looking at this, you will see that it looks probably pretty simple, but we want to make sure we're getting that hook at the beginning and that kick out tail at the end. So even though it looks a lot like the printed C and you're probably thinking you'll have no problem with it, I want you to set your pencil down. Check the slant of your paper, left-handed this way. Remember, right-handed this way. And I want you to watch me trace and try a couple of them first, just to really confirm that you have this step down. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick up tail. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick out tail. Watch me do one more set. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick out tail. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick out tail. All right, scholars, pencils are up. Check that slant of your paper. We're about to trace. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick out tail. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick out tail. Trace. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick out tail. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick out tail. Starting near the top line. One more trace and try. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick out tail. Starting near the top line. Curve around. Kick out tail. All right, scholars, you have a line to trace one and try at least 6. But before you pause and take care of that, let's talk about this next line because then you could go ahead and do that one too. Notice this one did not actually make it to the top line, so we're going to write it better than they did. So, watch me do this one. Starting near the top line, curve around, kick out tail, leads right into the A, up and over, swing back around, baseline, middle dotted line, baseline, kick out tail. So remember, you want to write at least 2 of those, along with at least 6 of the uppercase C. Pause for a minute and take care of that. Scholars, you've taken care of that line. Before we go to the other side and work on the uppercase O, we do have 3 combinations down here at the bottom to also make sure we take care of. I want to show you each of those, especially paying attention to the Q and the G on these first 2. Right? Those are letters we learned last week, so be careful on those. Watch me do one, please. I'm starting at the baseline. Up and over. Swing back around to the baseline. Kick out tail becomes the up and over of the Q. Swing back around. Baseline. Up to the middle dotted line. Drop below the baseline. And now remember, everyone, it's a Q, so backward loop to the baseline. Kick out tail. Right, so make sure you do at least 2 of those. But before you do that, let's also talk about this one. Right? This one's now a G instead of a Q. Watch me. I'm starting at the baseline. Up and over. Swing back around. Baseline leads into the up and over. Swing back around. Baseline to the middle dotted line. Drop below the baseline. I loop to the baseline, kick out tail. At least 2 of those, and then at least 2 of this combination DAC. And then we'll go to the uppercase O. All right, scholars, we are Going to the other side of the page, looking at uppercase O. Oh, I can tell you're excited to do that. Check the slant of your paper. Left-handed this way. Right hand slight slant this way. Pencils are down. Watch me trace and try uppercase O. I'm starting, scholars, at the top line with kind of a little hook. It's a little hard to see. So actually, I think I'm going to zoom us in just a little bit more. So I'm going to show you, I'm starting kind of right here, so I get a little bit of a hook on it. Okay. You'll see it especially on the one I try in a moment, but my trace, I'm going to start right there. So I'm curving around, so starting past the top line, curving around to the baseline, closing the loop, and then a kick out wisp of hair. So I'm starting just past the top line, curving around, baseline, I'm closing the loop, and making a wisp of hair. Watch me do another pair. Set your pencils down. I'm starting just past the top line, curving around, baseline, closing the loop, wisp of hair. Watch me do one more, please. Really careful watching. I'm starting just past the top line, curving around, baseline, closing the loop, wisp of hair. All right, pencils up. Oh, I think you're ready. Tracing, starting just past the top line, curving around, baseline, close the loop, wisp of hair. All right, we're going to try one. Remember, you want to make sure you touch the top line and then touch the baseline. Here we go. Starting just past the top line, curving around, baseline, close the loop, wisp of hair. Notice I'm getting a good curve on this side and on this side, right? It's not a straight line up or down on either side, right? We're making an O. Tracing, starting past the top line, curving around, baseline, closing the loop, wisp of hair. Starting just past the top line, curving around, baseline, closing the loop, wisp of hair. One more pair to trace and try. You've got this, scholars. Starting just past the top line, curving around, baseline, closing the loop, wisp of hair. Okay, here we go. Tracing our last one on this line. Just past that top line, curving around to the baseline, closing the loop, wisp of hair. All right, scholars, what I want you to do now is go to the next line. You're going to pause and try one, write at least 6, and then go ahead to this line as well. But I would say make this part right here a little more comfortably close than they did. So make your O, and then your C, you're going to pick up your pencil, and then start baseline, up and over, swing back around for the kick out. So closer than they did, but it does not connect. All right? Pause and do those, and then we'll continue. Scholars, how did you do on that? If you were to look back at your O's, would you say, oh, those are good? And maybe even star, one that you think you did an especially good job on. Right? So the very last part today is right down here at the bottom of this side. Remember, when you're writing letters, any word or a pair of letters in a combination like OC or OD or the word go, you write the whole word before you pick up your pencil. So if I was starting, for example, with go, right, I'm going to start at the baseline and go up and over, swing back around, right, baseline to middle line, drop below the baseline. I'm going to make my loop to the baseline. My kick out becomes the up and over of the O. Swing back around, baseline, middle line, kick out tail. Now, on these two, you'll notice the O is first. So look how there's a little difference here. That kick out tail is really toward the middle dotted line. So you form the next letter right off of that. So instead, scholars, of baseline, up, and over to make the C, right? This is a C right here. So instead of starting here at the baseline, you actually form it right off of this kick out tail. Let me show you one. So I started the baseline, up and over, swing back around to the baseline, middle line, the kick out tail becomes the up and over. Then I still swing back around to actually make the C out of it, and then the kick out tail. Right? Same thing with the O and the D together. Right? I start at the baseline, up and over, swing back around to the baseline. I go up to the middle of that line, do my kick out. That becomes the up and over of my D right from there. So you're not really having to go up very far, but then you still swing back around to the baseline, up to the top line, back to the baseline, and do a kick out tail. So make sure you do at least 2, more is fine, of those. And then remember, scholars, submit photos of each side. So you should send the C side and the O side to your teacher. That's the assignment for today. Thanks for joining me for another cursive lesson. I'll see you for the next one.